Hello all, welcome back. This is Christabel Diana from Trinity Software. In this video, let us build a Python app for sentiment analysis. In this app, we will analyze both the single digital text and dataset containing reviews. So first of all, what is sentiment analysis? It involves classifying a digital text into various sentiments such as positive or negative or neutral. Okay, sentiment analysis is a use case of NLP, that is natural language processing, and it comes under the category of text classification. So we need to see the steps involved in sentiment analysis. The first step being text pre-processing. Here we remove irrelevant information from the text such as special characters, punctuation and stop words. And the next step is tokenization. Here the text will be divided into individual words or tokens so that we can facilitate analysis. And third step being the feature extraction. Relevant features like words, n-grams and parts of speech will be extracted from the text. And the most important step is sentiment classification. Classify the sentiment of each text using the machine learning algorithms or pre-trained models. So this can be achieved using the supervised learning. The last step is evaluation. Here the performance of the sentiment analysis model is assessed using metrics such as accuracy and precision. Okay, here I have listed out 10 popular Python libraries for sentiment analysis, out of which we are going to see the first two, textblob and vader. In this tutorial, we will analyze single text as well as the CSV file using textblob and vader. Okay, so before moving on to textblob and vader, we will just create a layout of the GUI. So this is the GUI. I have imported many Python libraries. You first need to see tkinter alone for building the GUI. So from tkinter import star. We are importing everything from tkinter. You will see these import statements later. As I have already mentioned, we are going to analyze a single text as well as a CSV file. So I have created two functions, analyze text and analyze CSV file. Right now I have not yet written the contents of the function. I have just used to pause. Okay. First we are creating a new tkinter window using these three statements. A new window is created, title is fixed, and the width and height of the tkinter window is fixed using the geometry method. Then in order to get the input, we are using input label stating that enter text for sentiment analysis. I have set the font for it, and also we have a text box with height 8 so that we can enter the single text and analyze the sentiment of that particular text. And we have three buttons in our app. Analyze button is to analyze a single text. Quit button is to quit from the app. Then a result label, here the text blob and vader results will be displayed for each and every entered text. And open button is to analyze the CSV file. Okay, so button is created in this way. Text is equal to analyze text and command is equal to analyze text means that this function will be called. So that's why I have defined this function analyze text. And quit button command is equal to root.destroy means that tkinter window will be closed. And result label text which is initially left as empty, so nothing will be displayed in the label. Only after entering a text and pressing the analyze button, the result label will be updated. Okay, so open button is to open a CSV file and analyze the contents of the CSV file. Here command is equal to analyze CSV file, which is the function defined already. Okay, so we have created label, text box and buttons. Place this in the root window using the grid layout. Okay, so I have used grid method, and finally to start the tkinter event loop, use root.main loop. Fine. So just the layout alone is designed. Now we will execute this. So this is the design. So we need to enter the text to be analyzed here, and then if you press the analyze text button, we need to write a code in such a way that the result will be displayed here. And analyze CSV file. After writing the code, it should open a CSV file, analyze it, and you can get the results in the bar chart as well as in pie chart. Quit button will work now. Fine. Now we need to move on to textblob library and we'll see how it works. So textblob is a NLP Python library. It uses a name-based classifier for sentiment analysis. The input is the text which you will be giving in the text box, and output will be polarity and subjectivity. A polarity determines the sentiment of the text. Its value will be in the range from -1 to 1. -1 denotes that it is a highly negative sentiment, and +1 denotes that it is a highly positive sentiment. Based on that, sentiment classification can be done. And subjectivity determines whether the text input is a factual information or a personal opinion. Here the value lies between 0 and 1. If the value is closer to 0, it denotes that it is a factual information, and if the value is closer to 1 means that it denotes a personal opinion. In order to determine the sentiment, we will concentrate only on polarity. Okay, in order to make use of this text blob library, first we need to install it in the command prompt using the statement pip install text blob. After installing text blob, you can import that to your code. So I have imported from text blob, import text blob. Okay, now we are going to analyze a single text. The text will be entered in the text box. We need to retrieve the text from the text box using the get method. So input text is the text box name. Input text dot get. It takes two parameters. First parameter starting from the beginning till the end, excluding new line. So 1.0 comma end -1c. Now, in order to get the polarity, pass the input text which you have retrieved to the text blob. So, text blob of input text dot sentiment dot polarity. You can also retrieve subjectivity, but we are not interested in subjectivity now. So, I have retrieved the polarity and stored in a variable called sentiment. And then we are applying the threshold values. That is, if polarity obtained is greater than 0 means that it is a positive sentiment. Else, if it is equal to 0 means that it is neutral. If it is less than 0 means that it is a negative sentiment. Okay. After getting the result, I have stored it in a result variable. Now, the result label's text will be updated using this result label of text equal to result. Okay. And here, polarity value can be displayed. Print a text blob, round function, sentiment, comma 2. So, we will check with some example for positive, negative, and neutral. We'll give positive review first. The movie was so awesome. So analyze the text. So we got text blob. It is a positive sentiment. And here you can see the text blob polarity value is 1.0. We will take an example for a negative sentiment. The food here tastes terrible. So analyze text. We got negative. So that is -1.0. Now, in case of neutral, you can identify the neutral sentiment when the sentence contains words like can't say or don't know or some irrelevant information. In that case, it can be classified as neutral. Let's take an example. Can't say about the product or don't know about the product yet. Whatever it is going to return neutral. So, analyze text. So, text blob returns neutral. So, 0.0 is the polarity value. Or you can also have a neutral statement which contains both the positive and negative thing. Its speed is slower, but at least it is working. Here we have a negative comment and a slightly positive comment. So when you analyze this text, again we get neutral 0.0. So this is the result which we have obtained for text blob library. Now we will see how vaderSentiment works. So vader stands for Valence Aware Dictionary and Sentiment Reasoner. This is the rule-based sentiment analyzer particularly trained on social media text like Facebook, Twitter, etc. First thing is we need to create an object for sentiment intensity analyzer class of this vader library. We need to pass the input text to the polarity scores function of the created object. So that will give you a dictionary of sentiment scores. This sentiment scores contain the key value pair of positive, negative, neutral and compound. If you sum up the values of positive, negative and neutral, it will always return 1 and compound will be the unique value. Okay. So classify a text as positive, negative or neutral in vader. You can apply this threshold values. For positive sentiment, the compound score should be greater than or equal to 0.05 and for neutral sentiment, the compound score should lie between -0.05 and +0.05. For negative sentiment, the compound score should be less than or equal to -0.05. Okay, so this threshold values, you can refer this from github.com/cjhuto/vaderSentiment. To install this vader, you have to go to the command prompt and type this command pip install vaderSentiment. Okay, after installing vaderSentiment, you can go to the coding. Now from vaderSentiment.vaderSentiment, we are importing sentiment intensity analyzer class. So in the same function, after this text blob, we are going to create an object for sentiment intensity analyzer class. We are creating the object called SID. After that, I am using polarity scores function for that particular object by passing the input text as an argument. So this will return a dictionary called sentiment underscore dictionary containing the key value pairs of positive, negative, neutral and compound. So I have applied the threshold values here in the if else condition. If sentiment dict of compound value is greater than or equal to 0.05, it is positive. If it is less than or equal to minus 0.05, sentiment is negative, else it is neutral. Now in the result label, I have appended both the result of text blob as well as the vaderSentiment. And I have also printed the sentiment dict. Fine. Now I will take the same example and see how vaderSentiment works. So our first example was when you analyze the text, both the text blob and vader gives you the positive sentiment. So text blob it is 1.0, whereas vader compound value is 0.7384. So we get the negative, neutral and positive. If you sum up these three things, you will get 1 as the value. Okay. Then an example for negative sentiment. Analyze the test. Both got negative. Text blob, the value is minus 1.0. Here it is minus 0.4767. And then neutral value, don't know about the product. When you give this analyze test, both returns neutral. Both values 0.0. Okay. Now we need to write the code for analyzing the CSV file. So we have written the code for function analyze text. Now we are writing the code for analyze CSV file. So before this, we need to import certain statements. From tkinter import file dialog module. File dialog module is to open a particular file. Here we are going to open the CSV file. So obviously we need file dialog module, and then we need to install matplotlib using the command pip install matplotlib, so that we can plot the graphs, bar chart or pie chart in our code. After installing matplotlib, just give a matplotlib.pyplot as plot, and then import pandas as pd. So this pandas is used for working with the datasets. We are going to work with the dataset, that is CSV file. So you have to install pandas using pip install pandas. Okay, these two things we have already imported. So now move on to this function, analyze CSV file. First we have an inner function, get polarity of the text. This will return text blob of text dot sentiment dot polarity. Okay, now we need to open the file, and then we will be using both text blob and vader to analyze the sentiment. Okay, so file dialog dot ask open file name. The file types should be CSV files. So if the file exists, I am using a try except block. In the try block, we need to read the contents of the CSV file by using pandas.read CSV of file path. That will be the data frame. In the data frame, I have used a df of text. It means that whatever CSV file you are using, the text to be analyzed, the label for the text, I have made it as text itself. For example, I have used this sentiment underscore text CSV file. Here it contains totally 500 rows. So if you see the label for this text that needs to be analyzed, the label will be text. If you have some other label like sentence, you can change it here. That is df of sentence. So I have made it simple that in all the files, the sentence label is text. So df of text is equal to df of text dot as type str. All the input fields need to be of type string. So we are converting that to type string, and then we are obtaining the df of polarity by df of text dot apply get polarity. Apply method is used to pass a function and apply it on every single value of the pandas series. Okay, so the function is get polarity, which we have defined here. It will be applied on every single value of the pandas series. Now df of sentiment type is initialized to an empty string. Then we are using df.loc is to access a group of rows and columns by labels or a boolean array. So here we are accessing it with the df.polarity value. The polarity value greater than 0, then I'm setting sentiment type as positive. If it is equal to 0, set sentiment type as neutral. If it is less than 0, set sentiment type as negative. Now use subplot method. With the subplot, you can draw multiple plots in one figure. Now I am going to compare both the text blob and vader in a single figure. So that's why I have used plot.subplot. 1, 2, 1 means that the figure will have one row, two columns, and this plot which you are going to plot now is the first plot. And then based on the sentiment type, we are going to value count, that is df.sentiment type dot value counts. So value counts method count the number of times a value occurs. Okay, so value counts dot plot takes these arguments. Kind is equal to bar. If you want bar chart, later we can try with pie chart also. And title is using text blob. Color, it is optional one. By default it will be blue. So in order to differentiate between text blob and vader, I have given color is equal to green here. Okay, similarly we have created the object for vader as we have seen already. SID is equal to sentiment intensity analyzer, and then we are obtaining the sentiment scores and then the compound value. Here instead of defining a separate function, I have just used a lambda function. So df of text dot apply lambda function, text is the variable. We are using the function SID dot polarity scores of text. Okay, this will give you the scores. From the scores, we are retrieving the value for compound key, that is score dictionary, a score D of compound. Okay, that will be stored in df of compound. Then sentiment type is initialized as an empty string, and then df.loc df of compound. If it is greater than or equal to 0.05, it is positive, or if it is within this range, it will be neutral. And please note that here you cannot use the AND operator in case of pointers data frame. In order to give the multiple conditions, you must use bitwise AND operator. Okay, then less than means sentiment type is negative. Again, now we are plotting this graph using the subplot. This is one row, two columns, and this is a second plot. Okay, and using value counts dot plot, kind is equal to bar, and title is using vader. Okay, this is separate title, but overall title of the figure you can give using plot dot sup title, that is sentiment analysis. And we know plot dot type layout is used so that the subplots can fit into the figure area. And finally, you are using the show method to display the figure. If any error occurs, that is caught using the exception. Okay, that's it. As we have already seen, we are using the sentiment text dot CSV. Execute this one. Analyze CSV file. Sentiment text dot CSV. So we got the figure sentiment analysis heading using text blob and using vader. So this is the bar chart values for text blob and this is for vader. So here positive value is 229. Here the positive value is 240. Neutral value is 183 here and 137. Negative is 77 here, whereas in vader it is 108. That is a huge difference in negative sentiment. So vader outperforms text blob when it comes to negative polarity detection. Okay, that doesn't mean that vader is more preferable. Text blob can do much more than sentiment classification, and vader sentiment is mainly trained for sentiment analysis based on the social media. Okay, so we cannot conclude that one is better than the other. Each one has its own use cases. We can choose which one you want to use based on the problem statement. Okay, now we can plot the pie chart for this same file. So the same figure, instead of kind is equal to bar, I am using kind is equal to pi, and then we have one more argument auto PCT to denote the percentage. Percentage 1.0f, percentage. Okay, same way for vader also. Now if we execute it, analyze CSV file, sentiment text. So we got the pie chart. A very less difference. It is 46% positive, 49% here. Neutral 38 here, 29. The negative, it is high in vader analysis. You can try with some other file also. I have another file, hotels. Again in this file, the text to be analyzed, the label for the text will be mentioned as text itself. So this is more or less the same. Both the text blob and vader gives you the same percentage. Okay. So that's it about sentiment analysis using Python with the text blob and vader libraries. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, kindly share and subscribe.